JJ, what
Uh,
what what game are you playing?
it is Llamasoft, the Jeff Minter's story. It is the second game in the Digital Eclipse. Was it Gold series? What is
Yeah,
like?
Gold
Yeah,
Master series.
Gold Master series. It's the last year they put out the Karateka compilation, and the year before that they did the Atari 50 set.
Hmm.
These all follow the same sort of iconic like timeline thing. Like it has a unified style, and clearly they're
Hmm.
not going to change any of this. So the thing I liked about the Karateka one in particular was that it really got into the like making of the
Hmm.
games. Like um Mechner kept a lot of everything. Like there's like there's so many like ephemera and
Hmm.
videos and old photos and journal entries, and because he kept so the best games are the games where the creator is vaguely eccentric and like wants to keep track of everything they've done, like
Hmm.
and boy is that Minter like uh Minter is one of the probably most unique game developers of all
Hmm.
time. um he's still out there making games to this day, and there's kind of nobody like stopping him. Like there's nobody watching over him.
Love
It's
it.
not like he works for a big studio. He's just this like independent guy who just wants to make games that he wants to play. He's like one part hippie, one part eccentric coder man. it's
Hmm. Hmm.
like at one part like rocker. It's he's so cool. Like I'd like to hang out with Minter and play some old arcade games with him. um so Minter wasn't big in the US for a
Hmm.
while. For those that don't know, console games in the 80s were virtually non-existent. They just weren't popular. It was computer games. It was, the Atari 8s and the VICs and the ZX Spectrums
Hmm.
and Commodores and things. So that's where the money was, and that's where everyone was developing in Europe. The Nintendo wasn't big, and the Atari wasn't as like
Hmm.
the VCS slash 2600 didn't really have this foothold. So everything on this collection until you get to the very end is an old 80s, early 90s PC game. Um, and Minter started in a time where like I think the first game is like 82 or something on this
Hmm.
collection. Can't remember exactly, but it's in that time. It's pre Nintendo, but post Atari kind of thing. But the home computer is becoming more and more readily available. And basically, he started at a time where you want to be either the first to
Hmm.
market or best to market about creating a home version of a popular arcade game. So like a lot of his early stuff is just like, oh, this is just Centipede, this is just Defender, this is just that, but it's a home version with
Hmm.
a twist. Um, and that's where his career starts. So you have a lot of these early games that are just like they look like Atari games, and they play like obtuse versions of classic games. Like he was making
Hmm.
changes along the way to like a not completely rip something off, and b to like put his own spin on it. The animal thing doesn't come until way later.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, he just starts sort of working his way
Hmm.
uh, uh, through, and this set does a good job at just sort of working its way through. It shows you his earlier stuff. It shows you um, the thought process. The videos are all very good because Jeff Minter's a character, and I love hearing him talk about his career because he's just kind of happy to be Jeff Minter. Um,
Happy to be here. Yeah.
yeah, at a point he sort of finds his voice and his direction, and when like Llamasoft becomes a thing, and like he starts putting animals in the games, and that's where you get like Attack of the Mutant Camels and stuff. Like the camel thing came because like he got Empire Strikes Back for the Coleco or the Atari, and people would joke that the AT-AT walkers look like camels, so he just ended up making that.
Love it.
So he just ended up making
Love
that
it.
game. Like, what if that part really was just like aliens abducted camels and gave them armor, and you have to destroy them? And that's where that came from. And he just sort of built on that, and the games got increasingly more complex. His biggest game for the longest time was probably Grid Runner,
Yeah.
which is just a phenomenal game.
And they have a remake of that in this.
In the collection, yeah, modern day
Yeah.
version of Grid Runner, and it's cool to watch, like see different versions of Grid Runner throughout the years. And they've got they've got like games that are for a system that was going to be like Europe's like console that never came out. Like that game, the system never came out, but Jeff Minter made a version of Grid Runner for it, or the Camel game, like Mutant Camels for it.
This, by the way,
Is,
this is a very cool little
yeah,
note here. I'm going to pause
yeah,
this.
yeah,
It says color space is everywhere, and it says we've actually been looking at color space for a while now. The moving backgrounds in these timelines are generated in real time by the original 8-bit. Oh, that is cool, man.
So that was where I was heading next too. Is
okay.
They just don't focus on the games either, because Minter got super into like synthesized music displays, you know. So it's like a light show that is being created. So there's two versions on there. There's one on the Atari, and then Color Space, which came out later. And they're hit here, and they're functional, and you can kind of play with it, and they're kind of cool. Like the thing that gets that they touch upon it too. Like Jeff Minter has like a weird history, like of things that you wouldn't really know is Jeff Minter. The visualizer on the Xbox 360 music player is Jeff Minter. It is just Color Space, but like a modern version of it. So when you boot up an Xbox 360 and start playing music, the visualizer that's kind of moving around with the beats and stuff, it's Jeff Minter. That's like he's got an so it's not everything was games. So it was kind of cool. So you got a couple of that stuff on there. They have some screenshots of things that never came out. Like he was working on a visualizer for the GameCube at a point that never came out. And it ends with what's probably considered his, magnum opus and Tempest 2000 for the Jaguar of all things. The one good Jaguar game.
Amazing.
And that game, it's ass, man. I mean, you will find they even sent an email saying that like the PR people sent an email because they've been getting questions about it, about certain missing games like Defender 2000. They just don't own the rights to it. Like that's Midway.
Okay.
I think that's Warner Brothers now. I think Warner Brothers would own, because again that's Midway. So I think Warner Brothers owns Midway. I can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they couldn't include it if they wanted to. And like there was a version of Grid Runner, I think, for the Nuon. Do you remember the Nuon?
Barely. I remember the name Nuon. Yeah.
Yeah, which was the gaming DVD player. Like,
yeah,
there was a game for that. And they even say it's like there's no emulator for the Nuon. Why would we? I love looking at the journal stuff and the hand drawn and the hand. There's a lot of notes and stuff.
Love that kind of stuff.
Designing games. Like this is a documentary. I don't think it's as cohesive as the Karateka game, because it's not, the Karateka game's not missing anything. It is the history of that game, like where he started, and then like it coming out in subsequent versions. Like there are missing versions, but like they're just ports and things. You know what I mean? Like it's like there's nothing like there's missing stuff with the Minter stuff. There's stuff that's just like, and it ends at the Jaguar. Like, it'd be cool if they could have figured out a way to get like what was the 360 one? was it Space Llama or something like that? And
Something.
and yeah, and there was that
I remember it.
T-Cross K, which was the weird Vita Tempest game that
Mm-hmm.
Atari got shut
Mm-hmm.
down because it was just Tempest without any changes, and that led to Tempest 3000 with Minters. Like there's missing stuff, but and I just don't think Minter's games are particularly fun. They're cool and
Huh.
weird, but so many of the older games aren't necessarily fun. They're old and outdated and archaic, and they didn't really hold up very well. Like Tempest 2000 still kills it.
Still whips. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's some games. There's some games I never played before. There's a game on there. I think it's called Deflect, which is like one of his earlier games. And it's actually kind of a cool game that I never. It was very simple. It's like a number comes on the screen,
Mm-hmm.
and a ball, like a pong ball, is moving across the screen. And when you push a button, it creates an angle that the ball bounces off of, that just in front of the ball, so it forces it to go in the opposite direction of there. And you're trying to, sorry, I punched the mic. You're trying to angle the ball to collect the numbers. So you're putting all these paddles all over the screen, but they don't go away either. So it's going to keep following this pattern. So you're going to have to keep trying to angle these paddles to get the next ball, and you're having to create. It's clever game for something that was created on like a Vic, for like a guy in his thing. It's nice to see like his family was all in on it.
That's cool. That's cool.
It's fun. It's like the documentary part of it is what sells it, and it's just like it's fun to see somebody who's such a creative genius in terms of like, how do I make this game uniquely Jeff Minter, and he nails it every time. And he's so good at it, and he's still doing it to this day. And it's fun to see him out at his house, because this is a guy that, like, the llama thing isn't a bit. He's got several sheep, several llamas. He just lives on.
God love him.
Yeah, he just lives kind of like not necessarily isolated, but like not like he's not in the middle of a city. He's just in a farm with some arcade games in his garage and a computer that he's developing on, and he just keeps making, like, I'm gonna make a VR grid runner. Let's go, and then he does, and it's like,
I love that aspect.
Yeah,
these collections.
Yeah.
The Atari 50. I watched that plugged into with my Switch plugged into the big screen, because I could play it on a smaller screen, but this, because the documentary aspect of these, and I haven't done the Karateka one yet. That's on my to buy list, but they're great to have on a big screen, because they're interactive documentaries.
They're legitimate documentaries with legitimate, like, all the paperwork is like readable and usable. Cool. Like, so it's just like all three of them are just like, and they price them accordingly. They price them like a movie.
Sure.
Which is the right way to go about it. At least these two, the Gold Master series. The Atari one was a little more expensive, but that was different. There's different stuff.
That's cool. So you've been playing this. You played this on Steam?
Steam. So yeah, no. This is as a devout sort of like gaming preservationist. Again, they just nailed it. This is like, even if you don't like Jeff Minter's games, there's a lot to just like with this set. It's just to watch a creative go through the process in his history. It's fantastic. There is one thing I'm going to sort of vaguely complain about, but it's not really. We've had two of these, and both of them have sort of advertised other feature-length things that are like the Mechner, the Karateka one, sort of teased his graphic novel that he was making that was like about his journal and stuff, and this one teases a movie that's being made.
Stay tuned about
like a documentary with Minter and stuff. Like, it's like it feels like it feels weird, but it doesn't take over the thing. It's always like the last thing that they talk about. Like at the end, it's like, and the future is just as bright. And also, here's the guy that made. But no, it's great. It's nice to be able to play these older games, but updated to like keep the soul of the game, but you can use it with an Xbox controller. Like that's sort of the thing with a lot of these is like, especially those old PC games, especially European PC games and stuff. Like it's kind of hard to play those games like with modern control inputs or whatever. It's like it's like, oh, I got to pull out the Commodore controller and plug it into, get a serial adapter to plug it in and shit. Like that's
like no, they did a good job.
They did a great job with this. Excellent. A plus. I don't know
what we out on everything.
Yeah, it came out this week, 13th.
I think yesterday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago?
13th, yeah.